I gotta get the, yeah. So they went, they printed this nice brochure and they had it down to the Department of Planning and said, we want to do this. And Ben's map was there. It was a really nice brochure that they'd done. And the Department of Planning was interested. And then they started having, the general plan of San Francisco was revising for the well, it's called the recreation outer space element of the planning. And so they had public meetings, which I attended, and in behalf of the Ridge Trail, because I was trying to get them to redo our signage through San Francisco. And so I became aware of this. And attached to this bioregional park was this tentative sketch of a trail across San Francisco from the southeast corner to the north. And it was being called the Crosstown Trail. So I said, wow, that's incredible. So I got really interested in it. And so after a few years, this was this recreation outer space. I guess I don't want to get too bureaucratic. It was brought into the general plan along with this Crosstown Trail. And I said, this has got to happen someday. So I waited a while and you know, things don't happen unless you decide it's a good thing and you want to do it. So I knew a lot of people in San Francisco in the outdoor world, nature and bicyclists and trail builders. And so I sent out an email and said, let's get this thing done. So I sent out about 30 people and, to find out, these are busy people. And I knew that they all couldn't do it, but I knew some people would come forward. So about 5 or 6 people said, yeah, let's do it. So we formed a committee and we got going on it. And one thing I didn't want to ask for permission. I don't know if any of you have ever been in bureaucracies. You ask for permission, there are a lot of rules. So we knew this was all on public land. And it was underground. It was under the asphalt. All I had to do was say it's there and declare it open. So we had meetings first of all, the 6 of us, we biked the city. We all knew the city quite well. We went, and some more better than others in some areas. And so we went on bikes and we looked at this tentative plan that was in the planning department. And we tweaked it and we went out many times and we went over it and we wrote incredible directions. And we had meetings at my house once a month or every couple of weeks, and we had dinner and, we were very open. I went to the public meetings and I told them we're doing this. I never for permission. I just said, we're doing this. And they said, really? How are you doing this? I said, well, we're doing it. And at one time they said, what's the name of your group? After a meeting, an older woman came up to me. She said, this is incredible. What are you guys doing? This was the Presidio Trust. And I said, who are you guys? What's the name of your nonprofit? I said, we weren't a nonprofit and we still aren't. So the next meeting I came back, said we had to give ourselves a name. So we called ourselves the Crosstown Coalition. So then that was our official. Then we cleared. So we're still the Crosstown Coalition. And so we opened it up. The thing was, if you don't have trail signage, I don't know how many trails don't have signage, but this is a major trail. I called it an urban trail. I mean, instant urban trail. It cost us $600 to do a 17-mile trail across San Francisco. Why? Because we don't have trail signs, because we don't have a staff, because we don't do, it's all volunteer. And we have all we did was we designed, my wife, who's Pat Corin, she designed our t-shirts and our hats. And we just sell t-shirts and hats. And we make money, and then the money we make, we give to the open spaces along the trail. So we did it for $600. And
Bob, do you want to show us what the website looks like and maybe some photos so that people get a visual of what we're talking about?
Sure. Okay. We're getting close. Anyway, there's a logo my wife designed.
Very nice.
Really nice, because it shows it goes from here across there. Now, and most of the, all the people know Chrissy Field in San Francisco. And the Ridge Trail goes this way across San Francisco. But a lot of people don't know what exists down here in the southeast corner and there. So that was at least the logo we came up with. And now I'll show you the, so here's our our Crosstown Trail. Is this in the way at the bottom?
We can see where your cursor is, up to where your cursor is. Yeah, so
How's
this
that?
is the website that you guys created, right?
Yeah, right. So here's the trail across. And the funny thing about the website, like all of you, I'm not into all these modern things. And so we're having a meeting, and I knew we had to have a website. And so I said, we need a website. So 5 minutes later, a woman, around the table says, okay, Bob, we got one. So, whoa, it's that easy. So anyway, we put some really great thought into the website, and because one of our committee members is a young graduate of UC in this area. So it starts at Candlestick Park. And those of you who are in San Francisco, you've probably all been to Candlestick Park one time, but you didn't know there was this great park across the way that millions of people have watched football games and baseball games, but didn't know there was this incredible park. It's the first urban park in San Francisco. I mean, the first urban state park. And here is a pier, fishing pier that goes out. That's right near where the trail begins. So we brought people out. We're bringing people out to get to know this park. It's an amazing park. So it starts in Candlestick Point, then it goes up through Visitation Valley.
And Bob, was that in the original plan that it would start at that spot, or how did you guys decide where it would start?
No, we're starting near there, but we decided to take it right out to the end of the park.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Sunrise Point.
Okay.
And there's actually a camping site out there for kayakers that people don't know about. So, and even when I took a car, we tried to get some publicity at the beginning, and Carl Nolte, maybe some of you read him. He's an old San Franciscan, a great writer, and writes in the Chronicle. And I took him out to some of these places. He said, native San Franciscans think they know all of San Francisco, but they don't. And he was really amazed by some of the things out there. Anyway, so that's the first section. We made it so it connects to public transit, so people don't have to do a whole 17 miles. They can just do a segment. So some of you there who don't want to go the 17 miles, the first segment's the longest one, 5.2 miles. The second one is 3 miles. But we all geared it to public transit, so you can get to Glen Park BART, and then go up the Glen Park Greenway, the canyon.
And Bob, sorry, can you
Yeah.
just back up and talk about from start to, like, if someone was going to do that first section, they would start at Candlestick and then they would end up where?
Well, you mean all the way?
Because I'm assuming people might do a section.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe we can just go through like sections.
Well, okay. If you started at Candlestick, you probably want to get an Uber to take you there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could go hike the 5.2 miles to Glen Park, and then there's a BART station there.
Okay.
That section is beautiful. It goes through Viz Valley. I'll show you a few photos later on going up through to Viz Valley Greenway. But there's a greenway that goes up and through Viz Valley through 6 city blocks. It used to be an old pipeline, and some artists and activists in the Viz Valley area made this incredible 6-block path that no one in the city really knew about until the Crosstown Trail said, we have to go up there and show people it. And so it's wonderful. And then the Glen Park BART station, then you go up through the Glen Park Canyon, which is just incredible.
And Glen Park, I know that the city has invested a lot into making those trails more just nicer trails, and there's like a nice community center there now. It's really changed quite a bit over the years, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it really has. And I know urban walking is a lot of fun, because so the wilderness walking is very fun too. I mean, that's how I started all my love of nature. But there's some great open spaces in the city, but then there are some coffee houses and wonderful restaurants. So if you do decide to do these things, in Glen Park, there's some nice restaurants, and there's a bar, and you can end there, you can start there. There are things to do, and in between, you're just getting this great walk into nature. So then you can go from Glen Park all the way to Forest Hill BART station, and then you can connect back to BART.
And I guess we should also talk about accessibility and the strenuousness or easy, like if someone was looking for, well, as you go, just maybe you can emphasize if you are using a walker or wheelchair, or if you have maybe knee problems and just want to do something that's not too much up and down, like maybe there's sections that are better for you, or
Yeah, I would say
what the
the only,
strength, the levels of these
well, if
sections are.
I guess a person with a walker, then you do this section that's through Golden Gate Park, Stowe Lake, Rose Garden.
Okay.
But the others would not do it. There are too many steps and there are too many hills at different
Okay.
times. So one would stay section 4.
Okay.
And I guess, well, the other, also in the Presidio area, there's a wonderful boardwalk trail that goes across the dunes, and that's accessible.
Okay.
But the rest of it is not.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons too we're able to do this trail so quickly, because if you had to worry about accessibility on the whole thing and follow all national guidelines, you couldn't have this trail.
Sure.
So, but there are parts which are definitely accessible.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted while you were going section by section. And that was
No,
really...
but that's a very important question you asked. So, but then the Golden Gate Heights Park is a beautiful view of San Francisco. I'll show you a picture of that.
Can you make it a little small
Small.
so they can see the whole thing?
No, I can't. Yeah. So Pat just said to make it a little smaller so people can see the whole. Let me take you to a few pictures of it. I mean, that might be enough, but the point is it is developed. It is broken down in different sections. The shortest section is section 4 that'll go through Stowe Lake and the Rose Garden in Golden Gate Park, and then it eventually winds around through the Presidio. And this is the boardwalk that goes through Lobos Creek. And this is Baker Beach here. Let me take you to a few pictures then.
And Bob, how many times have you done this?
I don't know. I've done a lot of segments. I've done it maybe 10 times all the way. And on my birthday pretty soon, I'll do it again in about a month. It's a friendly trail. This is the nice thing about it. You can always see people are going on it because they're looking at their maps. We have great directions, or they have the app on the phone. But let me show you here where it begins. So this is Candlestick State Park, and looking down the peninsula. 101 is over here. This is going up to McLaren Park.
And so you don't need to, you're not crossing the freeway. You're on the coast side of it?
Well, you go under the freeway a couple of times.
Okay.
So you never, and this is looking towards San Francisco from McLaren Park. This is the Visitation Valley Greenway I was telling you about that goes up through 6 blocks.
Huh.
And here's going up the trail through the Greenway. The people who've done it, they're always amazed. Native San Franciscans are, people are always doing it now, and which is wonderful. That's on the Visitation Valley Greenway.
Yeah, I've never been there before.
Yeah, it's in section 1. This is still on the Visitation Valley Green. You can see there, that's me with the t-shirt. This is going up through Glen Park Canyon. I can't figure out where that is, but that's on the trail.
So nice spots to sit and rest too.
Laguna Honda, that's the Laguna Honda trail system, which is interesting because those of you know Laguna Honda, behind there was a city land, open space, and there were a few trails through it, but a bunch of urban cyclists decided to open up these trails. And so they built trails there, and the hospital is so happy about it. They did it undercover for, I mean, the builders did undercover for a while, but then the hospital liked it so much, they said, yeah, this is great, because the people at Laguna Honda could come out and walk the trails. So this is Bedpan Alley. This is not there anymore, but these are all bedpans from the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Because the Laguna Honda I don't know if any of you have read the book about Laguna Honda.
God's Hotel?
What, say it again?
God's Hotel?
Yeah, God's Hotel.
Yeah, it's a great
You
book.
know, at one time they just threw all the garbage down out of the hospital, and the bedpans and all the other things. And so when they started building this trail, there were hundreds of bedpans and garbage and stuff. So here you can see the bedpans. You can't see them anymore. I wanted to keep them there just because it was a good historical sign of the times, but it's all cleaned up now. And then this is looking the grand view north, 360 degrees. And a lot of people have not been up that hill. It's just one of the best sites in San Francisco, I think.
It's called Grandview?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then this is my son. We did it on one of my birthdays.
Nice.
Yeah. And there are several tiled stairways. And the best thing about it was if you go from southeast to the north, you're always going down the stairways. And so you don't see the tiles. So you walk around down them and say, okay, now turn around. And they, then they see these beautiful tiled staircases. It's the tourists just love to come to see the tiled staircases. But it's also on the Crosstown Trail.
Where's that?
Let me try to figure this one out. This is actually on the Ridge Trail now, because I just want to throw a few pictures in the Ridge Trail. This is South Bay Ridge Trail.
And Bob, maybe you could explain what the Ridge Trail is, and I might need to go inside from that noise. Sorry.
Yeah, the Ridge Trail is a 550 mile. It will be 550 miles around the Bay Area, and it was started more than 30 years ago, and we got the 400th mile this last year. But it's a wonderful trail, and of course, a lot of it goes through the San Mateo County too. And maybe a lot of you have been on the Ridge Trail in San Mateo County over the years. But these are some pictures down the South Bay. There are another 150 miles to go before the loop is completed, and it's the hardest 150. Hardest miles to go through a lot of ranches and maybe some wilder area. But one time, not in our lifetimes, it will be completed. This is in the East Bay. I think that's in Huckleberry, East Bay Regional Park. And it is a multi-use trail. Ridge Trail has always been trying to get bicyclists and equestrians and hikers together. So most of our segments are available to all users. This is an annual event where the equestrians and the hikers camp out for 5 days in the East Bay. It's called the East Bay Hills Hike and Ride. And this is the Ridge to Bridge, which is where I first met Devora. It started early in the morning that year in the Presidio, and the bus stopped 31 miles and then walked back to the Presidio.
And Bob, Fred, my dad, is on this Zoom with us, and he is the one that came up with the idea for this annual hike that's now going, what, 25, 30 years now? That's a long time.
Yeah, Fred can talk about later when we let it people. So Pat, my wife is a great photographer. So this is red clover along the trail. This is looking back toward Bolinas, Stinson Beach. And that's the Stinson Beach Lagoon. Bolinas is over here. And the East Bay, I'm sorry, the Ridge of Bridges for bicycles and walkers. Oh, who's that? How'd you get that?
When my hair looked different.
Devorah, how'd you get there? Anyway, she was really tired that day, I think. You could tell. Surprise. And this is still in the Marin Hills, looking back towards San Francisco. And there's 101. So the Ridge Trail goes right up from the Golden Gate Bridge is part of the Ridge Trail, but then it heads up here and goes up into the hills. Is that enough photos for a while? And then you want
That's
to
great
questions?
pictures. Yeah.
To give you some idea. You can take it back. Yes.
So let me put it on gallery view so I can see. I'll continue to ask questions, but if anyone has a question, please feel free to either do the raise a hand in the Zoom or physically with your hand, or just make sure you unmute yourself. Okay, so what was it about your background that led you to believe that you could start this trail up without and how did you know not to ask for permission?
Well, I think as you get older, you learn not to ask for permission on some things, but I've always looked for opportunities to do things I think that were worthy ideas. And you know, I think those of us who are here and you've lived a long time, and if you think something's really good and you fight for it long enough, then it comes into being. So, you know, I knew this was a good thing for San Francisco. And I knew that from my past experience doing things that you could do it, but you just had to stick with it and you had to figure out the strategy to do it. So I've always been a problem solver.
I know you, Eric's got a question. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, my question was, so it sounds like this was all public land of some sort, owned by some sort of public agency, if I understood correctly. And so it's a two-part question, whether that's the case. And then did you actually have to build trails, or were the trails mostly already there and you just had to figure out how to have a route that connected them?
Yeah, the latter is what is correct, Eric. The trails were there. In fact, one of the reasons we went the way we did was because the bicyclists built that trail system in Laguna Honda. And so once that opened up, that really enabled us to go diagonally across. So we were looking to connect the green spaces that already existed. And they were owned by the state parks, federal agencies, Golden Gate Park, Recon Park, and then you have to connect through city streets too to get there. But we picked the routes on the city streets that we thought were nice too, like the staircases and things like that.
Was there a lot of discussion? Like, was there disagreement about which routes to do and how to get there?
No, not among those of us who selected it. And the thing is that I went to public meetings and I told everyone about it. There was never any pushback. Everyone realized right away that was a great idea. And we said one time, give us some of their suggestions if you want to. One person gave us a suggestion, but we told them why we couldn't go that way. But it was just joyful because everyone said, yeah, what? You're going to do this? How do you do it so quickly? What? You're kidding me. No one said it's a bad idea. The neighborhoods we walked through, we were worried about some of the neighborhoods we walked through. They want people walking through their neighborhood, No, they loved it. So and then the feedback we got ever since then for the Viz Valley is so excited about people walking through their neighborhood because they're so proud of their neighborhood and no one went there before. And so it's all been joyful. I mean, everyone, and you say no one here has done it. Does anyone done it no. You should do a little bit of it. If you're still mobile, go for part of it and give it a try, because all the information there, you can do an app, you can download the map, you can all these extensive directions. You can't get lost if you read.
How many people do you think have are doing it now? Like, what would you say that the having an actual trail, this crosstown walk, how many visitors, walkers do you think it now attracts?
It's really hard to say. On the weekends, it seems like Saturday and Sunday. I can't believe the people who I talk to, and they all done it or done part of it. But they come from all over to do it too. A lot of people come down from the peninsula to do it. They come over from Berkeley. I'll tell you one interesting story. I was walking the trail about a year after it opened, and this woman was in her maybe mid-30s, and she was walking with this guy, and the guy said, "Talk to this woman. She's doing the trails because she had PTSD. She was a doctor. She went back to, the first months of COVID, she volunteered to go work in a Bronx hospital. And she was doing an intubation. So everyone she put a tube in died for 30 days, early on COVID, things were tough. And so she came back to San Francisco just, with, do I have it right? PTSD? Is that the correct? Yeah.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
And she decided her only hope was to go out in nature. She's a San Franciscan. She had an office in San Francisco. So for about 3 weeks or 6 out of 7 days of the week, every day she did 17 miles of the trail.
Wow.
And then I pointed her to other trails in the city she'd enjoy. We hiked together a few times. She was a wonderful person. She said the trail saved her. Yeah, and that was nice about COVID because, as you know, people got out and about, and we opened the trail on National Trails Day, first weekend of June in 1919, and then COVID hit, and we could not lead things on it, but a lot of people started going out on the trail. It was translated into Italian. It's now in a Lonely Planet travel guide. The National Geographic's done an article on it. I mean, you name it. Just last week, a Toronto newspaper wanted to talk to some of us. I mean, I don't know. We never thought it would go like it went. We just were trying to do something nice for the city, and it just boom, it
That's
exploded.
so great.
Yeah.
Eric's got another question.
I thought of another question. You said that one of the reasons it didn't cost much is you didn't put up trail signs. My observation is that, there's some people that are great at reading maps, but there are other people that really benefit from having some trail signs. Are you considering going back to some of these agencies and saying, actually, we'd like to put up a few dozen trail signs at places where people might get confused?
Well, the thing is, I hear you, Eric, but people it's like a puzzle,
Okay.
And so, yeah, there is a movement to do. There are a few places we put a few stickers on poles because we knew people were going a little astray there, but if you tried to get the city to put, it's difficult. But people like this kind of unique thing about it, that it doesn't have trail signs, but we'll get more and more trail stickers or something. But
some people get disoriented is all.
Yeah.
And Eric, I think I haven't downloaded it, but I think there is, for people who are comfortable downloading apps. I think the app is kind of like a Google map format, right? Where you can keep walking with it. Is that right, Bob?
The app will take you, and we haven't found many people who get lost on it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I actually downloaded it because I figured I want to do it. I just haven't done it yet.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And then I know it's probably a difficult question to answer, but do you have maybe top 3 favorite parts of the trail?
I love I love the Candlestick Park area. Viz Valley, going up the Viz Valley Greenway, I couldn't believe it the first time I saw it. Glen Park Canyon, if you've not been up Glen Park Canyon, I mean, that in itself, you could just take the BART and go to Glen Park BART and then just walk up the canyon and back down again. You wouldn't have to continue on necessarily, but you can get up you cut off the trail at one time and you go to Twin Peaks up at the top. On our maps, you could see that connection. So trails connect. That's the other thing. in the city, there are a lot of trails that connect the Bay Trail, the Ridge Trail, the Laguna Honda Trail System, the 5 miles on Mount Sutro. There's just a lot.
Yeah. And then where are your favorite places? What's your favorite food along the trail? Oh, and I'm sorry. And after that, Pat, your wife has a question.
There's a really great coffee shop that started about the same time we started in Viz Valley, Mission Blue, great coffee. Once you get over near the park on Irving Street, you have your choice of ethnic restaurants. So that's a great place to have lunch. And if people did just want to go that way and then head into the park and along the Ridge Trail, the Crosstown Trail. That's the nicest area for eating, I think, over near Golden Gate Park.
Yeah.
Also in Glen Park, there are a couple nice places for lunch, breakfast.
Pat, did you have a question?
Not a question, I just was gonna make a comment about getting lost. I don't know, Bob, if you mentioned the walk sheets where there's very specific printed instructions that tell you, when you get to such and such an intersection, look for the steps on your right. So you do have that as a guide.
Yeah.
If you can't quite, if you don't want to deal with the phone, print the map and print the walk instruction.
Yeah, specifically, it might even say by 216 such and such a street, look for the staircase and walk up. If you didn't see that, if you didn't read it, you might miss the staircase. So, but
Okay. And then maybe we could go back to you sharing your screen, because in thinking about Bob's talk, I was intrigued to learn that, and asking him where did he get this inspiration to do all of this great advocacy work from? And Bob said that, well, he actually did start off with the Peace Corps. So maybe you can go through some of those photos and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to have graduated from college just about the time Kennedy was starting the Peace Corps. And I got really excited about the Peace Corps. So after I got a master's in education at Stanford. Let me see where I have the, and I was teaching down and I wanted to go in the Peace Corps. So I was accepted to go to the colony of the Nyasaland Protectorate in Rhodesia, Nyasaland, and Nyasaland was going to become independent, become Malawi, which it became when I was there. Anyway, Pat dug up this photo. I don't have many photos, but a Kansas City Star came out to do an article on the Peace Corps back in 1962. And I taught at a teacher training college. The Malawi, Nyasaland was going to become Malawi, and they wanted Americans to teach in schools and to make the transition, because there were only about 10 African teachers at that time in the country. I know very, very few. And so it was a question of, anyway, I was assigned to a mission on the shore of Lake Nyasa. Lake Nyasa is 350 miles long. And the widest point is 50 miles across. Let me see if I can find that for you. Yeah, the bottom of my screen is covered up by the, yeah, I can't get to it because, oh, here, I can get the map up here. And let me, anyway, this is a map of Malawi. I was stationed, Malawi is surrounded by Mozambique on the south. And then you can see Zambia, and it's just south of Tanzania. But Lake Nyasa, as I say, was 350 miles long and about 50 miles across here. But I was right here near the border of I was right around here, and this was Mozambique, and this was a pretty wild area in there. And I taught at a teacher training college for 2 years. And there were about 60 students who were being prepared to be elementary school teachers. And it was an old mission on the. Anyway, it was a wonderful time. And then I went on and I came back and taught at Gun High School for a year in Palo Alto. And then I went back in Peace Corps administration for 6 years. And at that time I was in Kenya for 3 years, in Somalia about 4 months until they kicked the Peace Corps out when there was a Muslim revolution. And then I was eventually country director in Burkina Faso for a couple of years. So I spent 6 years in Africa before returning to San Francisco and then went to work for City College. And let me. Is that enough, or you wanted more about that?
You had your photos from City College too. Let's see them.
I'm trying to, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get to that. I'm sorry.
You're doing fine.
This is covering up. Oh, there it is. Every time I try to get to it.
Sometimes Zoom is,
Let me-
gets a little stuck on photos and doesn't let you go forward. I
Here,
know.
maybe I can go here. Anyway, then I taught for, I taught at the Chinatown campus of City College for about 25 years. And I retired when I was 63. And this Pat stuck in my classroom and took a picture of my last class. I taught seniors as well as younger people, but this is a class at 50 people. The Chinatown North Beach campus, we had 6,000 students. We had classes 6 days a week. We were 8 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. Anyway, this was one of my last classes. It was, seniors were so great to teach. They never missed a class. They were just great. And they wanted to learn English so I could speak to their grandchildren.
And so what was your method for teaching?
I had some interesting methods. One of them, one thing, a lot of Chinese people, they didn't want to lose face, and you had to really entertain them the whole time. So everyone was joking, and it's the whole thing. So because some people, they just want to open their mouths and speak perfect English the first time. They don't like to hear themselves speak bad English. So I just lightened them up, and we had a good time, and they loved coming. It was fun. Yeah. So it's been very interesting. And then when I retired, that's when I started doing a lot of, I'd done volunteer work before, but then my time was freed up to spend a lot of time on building trails and working in the outdoors and citizen science. And so in the 20 years since I retired, I've really moved into the outdoors and have enjoyed it tremendously.
Can you tell us about the hike I got to join you on in, I think it's part of the Bay Area Ridge Trail, right? That was near the cemetery?
Yeah, the one part of the Ridge Trail is Fife Hill, Cahill. It's part of the San Francisco watershed, and they have a docent-led hikes on the 10 miles. It goes from the cemetery at 92 and Skyline, and it goes all the way through 10 miles to north. And it's a wonderful hike. If you know people who want to take that hike, they can sign up on the USFPUC website. A Ridge Trail also sponsors hikes on there. Is that? But if any of you hear something that there's an interest to you or your relatives, feel free to call me or email me, or and I'll be happy to give you more information. I just don't know how many of you want to get out and do some of these things, but you might have sons and daughters and grandkids and stuff that want to do it too. But some of you might want to take on some of this.
And then maybe, I don't know if there's more pictures to show, but if not, then maybe we'll do gallery so I can see if anyone has questions. I wanted to ask you about on the Crosstown Walk, if there's anything of note from a historical perspective that people should think about. And maybe some of you are from San Francisco and know about that.
Yeah, I'll answer questions from the group then, if you have it, or if you people from San Francisco want to chime in, if you're.
Yeah, it looks like we've got, Chip, are you raising your hand? Oh, you have to unmute. Unmute. Wait, Chip, we can't hear you. Wait.
Sorry,
There
I
we
was
go.
having trouble. I am
Huh?
not very good with a computer.
You're on, so you're good.
No, I was trying to see the whole gallery. How many people were here? And I can only see, like 20 some, and I know there's more.
We have 26 right now. Can you see all 26? If you go to the right-hand corner to the view, and then if you drop down, you can see speaker, gallery, or immersive.
That is not on my iPad. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I don't
about
have
that.
all the little things. I can see a lot of people don't have the pictures up.
Yeah. It's optional. If you don't want to be filmed or if you're doing other things while you're listening, you don't have to show your.
Right. So I finally can see everybody. Thank you.
Sure.
I see Fred Cantor. Hi, Fred.
We have a question. Yeah.
Hi, Fred. I wanted to just thank you for your leadership on the Ridge Trail, and also especially for the Ridge to Bridge, which is how I got started. And I always will remember you're getting on the bus with a handful of cartoons. That was the cartoon of the day. And everybody got a copy, and it started us off in a very good mood for our hike. So thank you.
Dad, do you want to unmute?
Yeah, you're welcome. It was really wonderful experience all those years. And
What Pat's talking about is my dad, Fred Cantor, started this annual hike to promote the Bay Area Ridge Trail. And it was, you could do a section, you could do a 13-mile, a 20-mile, or 30-mile. The bus you'd park at the Golden Gate Bridge in the earlier years, and then the bus would drop you off at your starting point. And my dad would get on the bus and tell people about the things that they needed to keep an eye out for, wear sunblock, if you see a mountain lion, what to do. And instead of just talking and sharing these things, the tips, because he's lifelong New Yorker fan and loves the cartoons, he would find relevant cartoons and every year change them. You didn't have to do that. You could do the same one. He would always find new cartoons every year that were relevant. And so in talking, he would pass out the sheet of the tips, and it always had fun New Yorker cartoons associated with it. Yeah. We've got a question, and I'm sorry, I'm going to wait, Janice, because Kathy had a question first, and I didn't call on her. So Kathy, and then Janice.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this presentation. It's been really interesting and kind of getting me back to walking again. I'm wondering where we would get information on the trail, where it starts, where it ends, that kind of information.
Yeah, the crosstowntrail.org is where I was showing you all that information, and there it will give you access to the maps and the written directions, and then the app too, if you want to use the app.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all the work to put this together.
It's been fun. Thank you, Kat.
It's SF Crosstown Trail.
And Janice, did you have a question?
Yes, great presentation. I'm hoping to do the Stowe Lake Rose Garden section to, try to
Right.
get back into hiking. And I kind of took a look at the website. It is there a good place to park? I'm just trying to think, how would I access the actual trail around Stowe Lake?
Well, I mean, would you want to start right at the beginning of the segment, or would you just want to start at, go to Stowe Lake?
Just go to Stowe Lake and do that as the beginning.
Yeah, there is a problem, as you might know, with parking in the park now, getting close to it. So you'd probably have to park on the, let's see, the south side of the park in the Irving Street area, and then just walk from there to Stowe Lake. I mean, start in that area and park on the
Irving Street area, did you say?
Yeah, I mean, in a good, you could have fun just by going and have lunch, and then in that area, Irving and Ninth, and then walking into the park near the conservatory. And it's not far from the Academy of Science. Look for the entrance on 19th into
Okay.
the park, and park in that area.
Okay.
I know for people who don't live in the city, parking is always a problem for us too, but we do it all the time. So good luck. You can do it though, Janice. I know you can.
Bob, because I haven't been to the park in a little while, but it used to be that depending on the day, you could park closer to the Arboretum. Right?
Yeah, you can move into the park and park close to Arboretum, which is the JFK, of course, is the one that's closed off. Yeah, you can move into the park, and particularly if it's a weekday, I think you can move into the park and find something, closer, to Stowe Lake. Yeah,
And maybe even
you can move in there from
maybe the underground parking, right?
Yeah,
that could be not too far.
Yeah. Thank you for correcting me on that.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. So you
Okay,
can,
great. Thank
it's
you
easier
so
like that.
much.
Sure.
Any other questions? Joyce. Oh, I think we have to unmute you. Go ahead and unmute.
Now
Yeah,
am I unmuted? Okay.
you are.
I was just wondering if they ever have like a docent who gives a little tour of a certain section or anything, because it would be great to have somebody explain what you're seeing and what's going on. But it's a great idea, even without that.
No, occasionally we do have, particularly on the anniversaries, we have hikes. And we started a tradition this year calling a walk October. And we had a hike every Sunday on each one of the segments. So you can get on the email list, but we would be sponsoring hikes on the first Saturday and Sunday in June, if not before, but we definitely do that. That's our anniversary. It'll be our 3rd anniversary. So we do lead hikes occasionally, and we don't always go all the way across. Some do, and then some are just do the segment by segment.
That would be great. I guess I'll have to sign up.
Yeah. Okay.
Nancy,
Maybe you could get a group, Devor.
that'd be great. Yeah,
Do a section, and
that'd be wonderful.
and in which case I'd be, I could help out too if you plan to hike.
Yeah, and we can make a donation to the Crosstown Walk. Nancy, did you have a question? No. Okay, I thought you did. Sorry. And I'm just curious, are any of you native San Franciscans? Do some of these places that Bob's talking about sound familiar to you? And Sue, you're on mute. There we go.
There we go. Yeah. Grew up here, went to San Francisco State, lived in the city for many years. My grandmother lived right next door to the park. And strangely enough, a couple of weeks ago, I found a new to me little trail, little area in the park that was just absolutely gorgeous. It was one of those wonderful happenstances.
In Golden Gate Park?
in Golden Gate Park.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, one of the new trails that was Oak Woodlands, which is really a great new trail. Maybe that's the one you were on. It's Oak Woodlands is a really great new trail that opened up a few years ago.
Great.
And, no, I mean, this is the wonders of Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. There's these great, wonderful green spaces to hike on.
Yeah.
And they're close to restaurants, coffee shops. So you can do it all.
Yeah.
And I have a question for Pat, since you are taking notice of things even more than the rest of us with your wonderful photos. Do you have some favorite flora, fauna that we should keep an eye out for when we're visiting these areas?
Oh, there's a lot of variety, you know, like you saw that picture on McLaren Park where there's just lots of grass and it's pretty dry. And I don't know, I'm kind of a generalist. I like just, I go more for the shape and the color rather than, oh, you know, that's a, you know, that's a clover, or that's a poppy, or that's a, so I do though, especially like the bit of the trail that goes behind Laguna Honda, because there seem to be a lot of plants there that I don't see on other parts of the trail. And the other part that's really good is the walkway, which I didn't have photo. I didn't provide photos of those, although I do have some. The walkway, it's the Los Lobos Creek, and there is, it's set up, it has lots of natives, and it's you can pick up a card, laminated card at the beginning and put it down and return it at the end. It tells you what plants are along that particular stretch. And I forget what it's called, but it's a wooden, that would be a good one if you just wanted, you know, a shorter hike that would be very easy on your legs and your knees.
That's Los
Because
Lobos?
it's all, yeah, it's all, there's one, the big section of it is all just, they put down planks. So it's a very, I don't know, Bob, it's just called the Los Lobos.
Yeah, Lobos Creek, but you get there, it's at Lincoln Avenue, right across from Baker Beach. And there's adequate parking there. It's a wonderful little boardwalk that goes through a sandy area.
Huh.
Yeah, I highly recommend that.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Just last week, I was bicycling down the Panhandle, and about 10 feet to my left was a coyote that had just gotten a mole from the ground, and he was shaking it, and everyone thought it was a dog. And they did, some people were on their phones. They didn't even notice there was a coyote eating it. It was wonderful. And he was there. He's just this huge, healthy coyote. I'd never seen, he just loving the Panhandle. I know. And then he just loped off down the Panhandle. It was amazing. I'd seen a coyote in the park once before, but never so close to me and never eating an animal.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any more hands up. So I want to thank you so much, Bob and Pat. This has been so interesting. I really enjoyed getting to hear more about you and the trail and the Berry Ridge Trail. And I do think that there's a good chance that our group might venture into the city and do at least maybe a section. The Lobos Creek sounds like a really good one to start with.
Well, Devorah, as I mentioned to you before, if you do that, I told her I like to bake bagels.
Oh, yes.
And if you do something like that, I will bring fresh bagels to your group. fresh homemade bagels.
You would be the
Poppy seed.
attraction getting to hike with you. You don't need to bring bagels, but I'm sure people will not say no to the bagels.
But if
Yeah.
you need that as an inducement to get out and get some good exercise, I'll bring the bagels.
Sounds wonderful.
It's great talking to you all, or with you.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Devor, for
This
Nice
is
to
really
meet you
great.
all.
this. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, Bob.
Okay, bye-bye.